We do get to lock it into the wide guard. And my opponent here is stuck with an Indeedee on the field next to a Gallade, which is locked into wide guard. Which my opponent does not want to be in this situation in the slightest. How are you doing, everyone? It is Matt Manetric here, back on the Battle Spot ladder. Battle Stadium, we've done that once before. And we are using Hirofumi Kimura's team, apologies, who is a former Worlds runner-up. We featured one of his teams on this before. Yeah, so he was able to pilot this team all the way to rank 1 with a very, very impressive win rate of 57 wins to 16 losses. And he has actually got VODs of all his games. He is a Japanese player, and obviously the VODs aren't Japanese, so it's kind of difficult to listen to if you don't understand Japanese, because you don't really know what he's saying. But it's a super cool team, and it's kind of built around this Armor Rouge and the way that you can go for Aqua Jet with Dragonite to proc the weak armor weakness policy with Armor Rouge. You've also got the Sucker Punch on King Gambit. Now, you will do a lot of damage to yourself if you're going for the Sucker Punch onto your own Armor Rouge, but there are certain situations where that can be very, very useful. Iron Bundle is great for speed control. It's a very bulky Iron Bundle, so you aren't going to be outspeeding you're not going to be speed time, other booster energy Iron Bundles. You will be just be trying to take hits, really, and going for Icy Winds afterwards. So it's something you need to think about. However, Encore is a great tech to run. It can lock your opponent into moves they don't want to be locked into, like Protect. Wide Guard's another big one as well. Anything really where your opponent's kind of locked into things. You know, if your opponent's locked into Sucker Punch, then you know that your opponent is constantly going to have to go for Pokemon that are always attacking, and you can use that to manipulate them and control the game a lot better. It's such a fun move to use. And yeah, and you've got great sweepers in the Great Tusk. Dragonite obviously does a lot of damage. Armor Rouge does a lot of damage after the setup. King Gambit's good as well. King Gambit's a little bit awkward though, because there are a lot of times where I feel like you want your standard dark move, like an Assurance or a Counter Cleave, but this one's not running it. It's just the Sucker Punch, Low Kick, Protect, and Iron Head. But the Chople Berry is really, really fun. So yeah, I think that's basically it. Let's jump into Game 1. Okay, into Game 1 then. We have Indeedee, Hydreigon, Volcarona, Roaring Moon, Fluttermane, and the Gallade there as well. So, what are my first thoughts into this team? How weak are you into the old Great Tusky? You're pretty weak, actually. Like, you've got there's 3 Pokemon at the bottom. They really don't like taking physical moves, so having a Great Tusk could be really, really nice. But I'm wondering if it's something that's going to be better brought in the back. It's also good into the Hydreigon, but of course Hydreigon's probably going to Terra, and that's going to make it, much more difficult to deal with. But if you are, say, Steel or... Steel, we still hit you with the fighting with Fire, becomes a little bit more awkward. I'm kind of thinking whether or not we actually do lead with it and, say, go with Bundle as well. You do have a potential Tailwind in Roaring Moon, and the Hydreigon, and the Volcarona, actually. But I quite like this lead, with the idea of being able to use the Armor Rouge in the back, I think. Do we like Armor Rouge in the back, or do we not? The other thing with the Armor Rouge in the back is, what support do we want? Do we want the Dragonite? Do we want the Indeedee? I feel like the Volcarona is actually quite a big issue, so I think we have to bring the Dragonite, and I'm not even sure. Do I want to bring Armor Rouge? Maybe I don't, actually. Maybe... I was debating on whether or not I actually go with Indeedee, just purely for follow me support. But in the end, I've gone with King Gambit, just because King Gambit's really nice to be able to wrap up games with things like Sucker Punch. I do find it a little bit weird using a King Gambit that doesn't have access to, like, Cowtail Cleave or Assurance. Like, there's no surefire dark move, which one I can use at any point. Sucker Punches does have that conditioning where the opposition has to be going for an attack. I'm pretty happy with this lead, though. In fact, I'm delighted with this lead. In fact, clear as day, a Wide Guard here from Gallade looks so obvious. So I'm really looking at the Wide Guard plus Moonblast combination. And honestly, if I could get Gallade in on a Moonblast, sorry, if I can get King Gambit in on a Moonblast and he gets the special attack drop, Defiant will activate, that'd be pretty insane. I think I'm going to click Protect and switch out into the King Gambit. I can't imagine he's going to go for the fighting move into King Gambit. This is a pretty risky play, but Wide Guard plus like Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast, it looks so obvious here. It looks so obvious. He might have also brought the Gallade here as a way to block Trick Room with something like Imprison. Fluttermane can also play that role. We do see the Wide Guard, so that's really, really nice to see. And is it going to be a Moonblast? Is it going to be a Gleam? It's going to be the Gleam. which we are pretty bulky, so I think I'm okay with this. And this turn, I'm pretty happy just to go Encore into the Gallade. That locks it into the wide guard. We follow up with the Iron Head into the into the Flutter Mane. We could go for Sucker Punch, but I think I'm okay clicking Iron Head here. There's every chance he clicks Protect on this as well, to be fair. But just locking him into the wide guard is going to cause him a lot of issues. He's essentially only going to have one Pokemon on the field. It's still going to block us from being able to use spread moves, which kind of sucks. We've got quite a few in this team, but ends up switching out. He does end up switching out into the Indeedee, which is absolutely fine. And if we can lock this Gallade in into the wide guard here, that's fantastic for us because he has a 0 offensive pressure out. We do get to lock it into the wide guard, and my opponent here is stuck with an Indeedee on the field next to a Gallade, which is locked into wide guard. Which my opponent does not want to be in this situation in the slightest. This is fantastic for us. Absolutely fantastic. We can go for the big Iron Head into Indeedee, which is a 2-hit KO. But honestly, Gallade here, it has to switch. It has got to switch. So I wonder here if I'm okay just to click Freeze Dry into Indeedee. Indeedee's not really much of a threat here, and we just follow up with the Iron Head into the Gallade. The Gallade does choose to switch. It may be a Follow Me into the Flutter Mane, which if that's the case, fair enough. Is this Flutter Mane? It is Flutter Mane. So let's see what my opponent chooses to do. We see the Booster Energy. Oh, it's Psychic Seed. Interesting. And it is to Follow Me just to protect the Flutter Mane on the switch-in, so. But we do get to see the item revealed as well, which is great for us. So, Freeze Dry, not enough to take out the Indeedee. However, the Iron Head is going to follow up to finish it off. Something important to think about as well is we do have access to that Chople Berry. So, I don't know whether or not we'd take a Sacred Sword from the Gallade. Gallade does have Sharpness this generation, which may change that calculation just a bit. It's going to be Gallade switching in here. Now my opponent is going to be terrified of clicking the... absolutely terrified of clicking the wide guard button. So I think I'm okay to switch out here. I don't know if I want to click Gleam though because of the... or I don't know if I want to go to Dragonite here because it's likely he just clicks Gleam. But I think I can click Icy Wind. I could also go Terra Fire, which actually I think might be the play. Is Protect Terra Fire the play here actually? Because you obviously want to get damage onto the bundle, because bundle's very annoying for you. You're going to go for the fighting move. I mean, the sharpness boosted Sacred Sword is going to do a lot of damage, but I do then resist the Gleam. I'm going to go for it. I'm not 100% that this is the play. I don't know whether or not we live the double up. But I'm curious to see. I'm very curious to see what King Gambit's got up its sleeve here. I do think my opponent sees the Iron Bundle as an issue because I've got the speed control with Icy Wind. I can lock it into place with Encore. He does end up going for the Gleam here. Are we going to see the fighting move come out into the King Gambit? I very much expect so. Gleam doesn't do too much. Sacred Sword is enough to take us out. Obviously the Chople Berry not activating because we're no longer weak to the fighting move. I don't know, I thought we might be able to take it, but I was wrong. It was a bit of a waste of the Terastallization in the end, because I probably needed it for the Dragonite. Yeah, this is a real waste. Okay. How fast are you? I really wish I saved it now, because a Tara Dragonite here would put me in such a good position. So you're max speed Jolly, which actually might be exactly what we need here. We can't go for the priority moves with Aqua Jet or anything like that. Ice Spinner. Oh, actually, we could Ice Spinner. Well, how does that benefit me, though? It doesn't really. So my opponent is going to feel a little bit threatened by the Earthquake. But I think here I just go Icy Wind into Headlong Rush. This would allow me to take out the Gallade. He ends up clicking Protective. This is amazing. So we'll get the Icy Wind off onto the Gallade. And lower its speed. That'll make it so that Great Tusk is then going to outspeed on the next turn. We then don't have to worry about Wide Guard anymore. But also, what is amazing about the situation is I believe this is my second knockout. So my opponent doesn't have any more Pokemon that they can switch out into. Flutter Mane has just clicked Protect, which means on this next turn, I can go for an Encore, lock the Fluttermane into Protect, and then make it a 2v1, and we're in a great position. We have our Focus Sash intact, and this is exactly where we want Great Tusk. This is exactly the position we want Great Tusk in. Now, my opponent, I don't believe, actually has gone for the... I don't think my opponent has gone for a Terrestrialization yet, but the Terrestrialization choice would likely be this Moon. So do I want to go for the Icy Wind instead? No, I think we go Encore. I do think we go Encore. I also have access to the Ice Spinner on Dragonite, which actually could be massive here. Yeah, let's Encore this Fluttermane and click Protect. He might end up just clicking Tailwind, which is fine. That's okay. And then on the next turn, I'll just start clicking Icy Winds. Because what this does is it just makes my opponent a lot more predictable, right? By going for this Encore. They become far more predictable. I thought they might end up clicking Protect here first turn with the Roaring Moon because the Tailwind is so predictable, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We go for the Encore here, so Fluttermane is going to be locked into that Protect. I could have attacked the Fluttermane this turn, actually. I probably should have done. They actually go Acrobatics. Yeah, I should have attacked into it. But it's okay. Well, I would expect to eat this. We do, because we are pretty damn bulky. And the Psychic Terrain is now down, though. That doesn't really benefit me. We can go for the Icy Wind. We can't really hit the Moon too much, though. I think the Icy Wind is the play. And I think we can just go for close combat. And just get a bit of chip off so that the... just so that the Dragonite can deal with it in the back later on. We are going to see the Protect come out, of course, because we encored the Fluttermane into it. We're going to see a speed drop here on the Moon. We get a little bit of damage off with... Well, that was actually a lot of damage, much more than I was expecting from our friend, the Great Tusk. Actually, I think another one will just take him out. He ends up going for Earthquake this turn. That will probably be enough to take out. Oh, this is now an issue. I now need to work out whether or not Dragonite can take out this. Actually, no, because I was trying to think in my head then whether or not Dragonite will be able to take out the... will be able to outspeed the Moon, but we saw the Great Tusk take it out, so... I think here we're okay just to go Ice Spinner into Headlong Rush. Because we know that Fluttermane is locked into the Protect. It gets the double Protect! Oh my god. I thought the Moon might click Protect here, honestly. Okay, Dragonite is able to outspeed and just take it out with the Ice Spinner. That's going to wrap this game up. I would... Oh, maybe not actually, because if you've got Gleam... Oh... This is coming down to the wire. Yeah, that if I still had my Terror intact, I'd probably have this game done. The Encore finishes. My opponent is pretty happy and pretty free just to actually just click the Dazzling Gleam button. I think what I'm going to do here is click Protect with... Yeah, I'm going to go for Protect here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to keep 2 Pokemon on the field for as long as possible. If you don't know, spread moves have a 75% damage, or spread moves lower their power by 25% is what I'm trying to say. So by keeping the Great Tusk on the field a turn longer, after Multiscale has broken, Fluttermane isn't going to be able to hit us with a single target Dazzling Gleam. So Dazzling Gleam is not going to be its full power, and hopefully Dragonite is able to live the hit. An Ice Spinner will be enough. I'm not convinced an Aqua Jet will do it. Although 2 Aqua Jets should. So I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go for 2 Aqua Jets. We'll follow up with the Headlong Rush. That should be game over, though. We go for the Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet's not enough to do it, as I kind of thought. They fire off the Dazzling Gleam. Is the spread move... was the spread move the right play? It was on our end, going for that Protect the turn before, because it allows Dragonite to deliver the hit, and we can wrap this game up with an Aqua Jet. So I didn't play this game as smoothly as I would like, but we were able to pull it out the bag nonetheless. We gave ourselves enough as a safety cushion there. Well, sure, I took the risk with the King Gambit Terror, stupidly so, but we put ourselves in a good position. That early game Encore really got in my opponent's head. We obviously were able to Encore the Flutter Mane earlier as well, or later on in the game I should say, which really limited the pressure that my opponent could put on. And that's the power of Encore Bundle. Let's jump into game 2. Okay, so jumping into this game, then we've got a Tyranitar with... it's a bit of a good stuff. Wait, where's the Trick Room element? There's a Torkoal, but I see no Trick Room. Maybe it's on the Flutter Mane. I don't know, this is interesting. My opponent's pretty weak to Fairy, though. Not that that benefits us in any way, shape, or form. So the obvious leads, like, my opponent's team's very strong on speed control, like, right? You've got the Tailwind, you've got the ice, the double Icy Wind. I suppose the Torkoal could just be there for the Photosynthesis boost. But with my opponent as strong on speed control as they are, I don't feel like Armarouge is a great option here. The Iron Bundle here, the thing is, I can see my opponent leading Tyranitar. I feel like Tyranitar's a really nice lead against my team. So I'm going to lead the Great Tusk. But I think to pair with the Great Tusk, I think Dragonite's just so good, because Dragonite can hit the opposing Great Tusk with the Tower Blast Flying. We've got the low kick to hit the T-Tar as well. So I think this is just a nice option. I think we could also bait with this lead an Icy Wind and switch into King Gambit. And I think we go with the Iron Bundle in the back as well, just to control the speed towards the endgame. So it's well, it's going to be the Tyranitar plus Great Tusk, which honestly I'm pretty happy to see. My opponent doesn't really do that much into Dragonite other than go for the Rock Slide, and in this situation Tyranitar is usually a Soul Vest and will usually go for the Terrestrialization. And I could also see them going for a Terra Blast Flying in this particular case. So I think here, I'm very tempted to just double up into the T-Tar. Do I protect Great Tusk here? Maybe I do, you know, because the thing is, my opponent's, like I say, my opponent's Great Tusk is not a threat to Dragonite whatsoever, unless they're running Ice Spinner themselves, which is pretty unlikely. We'll go for a low kick into the T-Tar. If they Terra, then I should have gone for Ice Spinner. And it looks like they are going to Terra, so yeah, I should have gone for Ice Spinner. I read the Terra fairly clearly. But it's fine. I would expect to see it might actually be a Rock Blast into like a close combat or something, to be honest. They had the same idea. So are they going to go for the Terra Flying? We're hoping it's going to be the Terra Blast Flying. We're getting a little bit of chip off, which is nice. No, it's going to be the Rock Slide. Of course, we're going to protect with the Great Tusk. And he's okay to take Rock Slide into Dragonite. Obviously breaks the multi-scale, which is a shame, but in the end I think it's okay. So my thinking here is that T-Tar is going to slowly take chip. So shame we don't have Bundle out in this situation. Actually, Bundle would be really nice here. But I'm wondering if I just want to get damage off into my opponent's Great Tusk and follow up with a... The thing is, I reckon I can just take you out, though. I reckon I can just take out T-Tar with an Ice Spinner plus Close Combat. And if I can, that's pretty big. Like, yeah, okay, this is gonna be resisted, but this should still do decent now. Okay, that didn't do anywhere near as much as I was expecting, honestly. I was hoping for quite a bit more, and unfortunately, a Rock Slide plus... they're gonna go for the Close Combat. Yeah, Rock Slide plus Close Combat hit is gonna hurt. My opponent gonna lose some defense, though, as well. How much damage can we do with the Ice Spinner here from Dragonite? Not enough to take out the Tyranitar, unfortunately, as my opponent hits both Rock Slides. Not enough to take out either of my Pokemon, though. Very, very nice for me. And the Sand isn't going to do it either. But my opponent here very likely just wants to click Protect with the Great Tusk, just to let my Dragonite go down to the Sand. But fortunately, we are able to take out the Tyranitar with the Sand. Tyranitar, ironically, knocking itself out. But that's great to see for us. Because Tyranitar was a little bit awkward. The Flutter Mane switch is in here, which is really bad to see with when we've got 0 speed control. So I think my play here is simply to switch out and go out into, say... Yeah, I quite like... I quite like the bundle here. My opponent's Great Tusk quite happy to switch out, and I think that's absolutely the right play. I'd expect to see a Dazzling Gleam in this situation. My opponent also trying to gain some initiative with the bundle, and this is really bad for us because I don't think we're max speed bundle, so that puts us on the back foot a little bit. In fact, that puts us on the back foot a lot. That's a really bad situation. And honestly, one of the things I don't really like about this team is the bundle speed. Like, I think it's quite crucial that you keep up with the opponent's speed as much as you can. But when your opponent almost always has max speed bundle, like my opponent can now just go Icy Wind, make our bundle slower, and the opponent can just knock out our bundle on the following turn. So it's really bad for us, really. Like, it's really, really bad. That's a lot of damage as well. A lot more than I would have liked otherwise, and it's probably game over, to be frank with you. But we're going to see what we can do from this situation. We'll see what we can do. I wasn't anticipating that bundle switching, I have to say. My opponent does really, really well there to just stay ahead of the curve. But an Icy Wind is very, 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 very predictable here. I think I'm going to switch in... Do I go for a double protector with the Tusk? No, I think we'll switch in the King Gambit and we'll just protect with our bundle. And just try and pivot ourselves just into a better position, really. Because if I can get a Defiant boost on this King Gambit, then my opponent is going to have a lot of pressure on them with Sucker Punch. So, let's see. My opponent does go for the Icy Wind. But without the Assault Vest on King Gambit, I wonder how well we take this Dazzling Gleam, because I'm not sure it's going to be that well, to be totally honest. Here comes the Gleam. Yeah, it's so much. It's so much. The positive here is that, obviously with the stand-up, all my opponent's potential for Focus Sashes is completely gone. And I could see Fluttermane clicking Protect. If anything, I think it's the Fluttermane that goes Protect. I don't think it's the... I don't think the bundle would click Protect. The Fluttermane is more important to my opponent. Or is it? Because they probably think I'm max speed, right? So if they can get an Icy Wind up into my... Yeah, if they can get an Icy Wind up into my bundle, then that means that the Fluttermane just outspeeds everything. So let's go for the Sucker Punch into Fluttermane instead. And let's go for the... I guess we'll go for an Icy Wind. Okay, cool. So they don't protect with either. And we can take out the Fluttermane with the Sucker Punch. Does that mean it's going to be a Hydro Pump? It is a Hydro Pump, and without that Assault Vest, mate, Assault Vest King Gambit's so good. I feel so... King Gambit feels so naked without the Assault Vest. I just don't think it's anywhere near as good. But we do get a very, very crucial speed drop onto the opponent's Iron Bundle. Very crucial. Because it means that our Iron Bundle is now able to outspeed. And on the following turn, our thingy can also outspeed. This is extremely crucial. So in this situation, I could very much see my opponent wanting to protect that bundle, right? Like, getting rid of the bundle here is the most obvious thing. Because if they can go, if they can protect the bundle and take out my bundle, then, God, this is just a mind game now. I'm honestly questioning whether or not I just click Terror Earthquake, but I feel like I need to get the Icy Wind off. And if I don't get the Icy Wind off, I think I just lose. Okay, let's protect and let's go Icy Wind. I don't know. Headlong Rush. Icy Wind. Let's see. If my opponent protects the bundle, then we're in a great shape. I also think my opponent may protect the bundle here over the Great Tusk, because the Great Tusk has a Focus Sash, right? So, the Great Tusk can afford to take a hit, whereas the bundle probably can't. It is the bundle that protects, and we do call it correctly. We go for the Icy Wind. Can we hit the Great Tusk here? It'd be pretty crucial to do it. We do, which makes our Great Tusk guaranteed to outspeed. And that puts us in a fantastic position as the Headlong Rush finishes it off. And a little bit of chess playing towards the end there. A bit of squeaky bum time. And we're able to pull off what looks like it's going to be a win. In this situation, actually, our bundle's going to outspeed because we have the speed boost from the thingy-mabob, like the power energy, the booster energy, whatever it's called. And we got an icy wind off earlier, so we can literally go close combat into the encore, and that should be the game wrapped up. It is! Whew! That was stressful, but we're able to pull off the victory. There is no way my opponent can win from this situation. Very stressful. We had to call that protect correctly, and we did. Yeah, I think my opponent's logic there was like, well, if you choose to go for like, well, if you go for Earthquake, you'll knock yourself out. If you go for Icy Wind, then you know at least I've got the focus. Maybe you spread your damage and go for like Hydro Pump. We don't have Hydro Pump, but my opponent might have thought we have Hydro Pump. Maybe my opponent thinks, well, you've probably gonna Hydro Pump my Great Tusk and go for the close combat into the bundle, which is fine because then I live because of my Focus Sash. It made pure sense for him to go for Protect there. So we made the play, we got it right, we win the game. So yeah, let's go for game 3. Honestly, I was just thinking, like, by that last game, in those situations, my mind gets so muddled, and it's kind of the evening, I'm quite tired as well, but my mind gets so muddled in those situations, what to do, and in the end I go with gut feeling, and then after I've made my decision, the turn is in play, that's kind of when it comes to me, and I'm like, yeah, actually no, that's why it was a good decision. It wasn't just a gut feeling. But yeah, pleased to win that last game. Let's jump into this one then. So we've got Annihilate with, that's a Grafaiai. And there's a Dondozo without the Tatsugiri. There's I have no idea what's going on. This looks to me like it could be Trick Room though. So if it's Trick Room, it's going to be Final Gambit Annihilate. So how do we deal with Final Gambit Annihilate? I think the way we deal with that, honestly, is we go... We could go with you, actually. No, I don't think you're that great. Because if you go... So if you're going to go with a Trick Room Pokemon, it's probably going to be the... what's it called? Screamtail. I actually think the play here is this. Because if I do this, then the only way this gets blocked is if my opponent goes for Fake Out, right? But they'll be scared of a potential switch in with Indeedee. You're pretty good to wrap this game up with Earthquakes. Not that I have much I can Earthquake with. I guess it would be you, but... Okay, I'm going with a pretty strange strategy. So my thinking here is that my opponent probably leads with the Final Gambit Annihilate next to the Screamtail to set up Trick Room. So if I go for Aqua Jet into my own Armarouge, I will trigger Weakness Policy and Weak Armor and become faster than the Annihilate. This is not what I wanted to see at all. Actually, this is really not what we wanted to see. It's not the end of the world, though. Like, it's still okay. This very much depends on what my opponent decides to go. They may end up clicking Volt Switch here over something like the... Fake Out. So I'm going to go for the Expanding Force here into... Yeah, if I go Expanding Force into you, we then go for the Aqua Jet into you. We can take you out. And hopefully we just take out the Iron Hands first turn. They may end up clicking Fake Out here, and if I prop my Weakness Policy and they set Trick Room and I don't get any damage off this turn, then that's really bad. I'll be totally honest with you, that's going to be really bad. So, if they go Fake Out into Armarouge, that will suck. I don't think they go Fake Out into Armarouge. They might go Terra Volt Switch, but I could definitely see the Volt Switch happening here. Because that will just allow them to take a hit, get momentum, go into a sweeper in the next turn, and they'll be in a great position. They do choose the Terra. It's going to be Flying, which I have to say is not something I was expecting. Maybe they were scared of a potential Stomping Tantrum. There is a Fake Out. It is into the Dragonite. So the nice thing here is that we do get to keep the Weakness Policy. We actually see a Light Screen come out here. So maybe it's going to be the Belly... No, you wouldn't run Belly Drum plus Fake Out. It doesn't make any sense. Well, we'll get a Belly... Wow, that does 0. Wow, that does nothing. Okay, I'm going to go... I don't have Brick Break. I can't break the screens. We're going to have to play the long game a bit here, I think. But certainly Expanding Force in Psychic Terrain will do a little bit more damage. My other thinking here is that I could just go for Terra on the Dragonite and go for damage. I could also go for an Ice Spinner here, actually, into the Iron Hands. Maybe this thing isn't running Trick Room, though. Maybe it's not running Trick Room. I do think the Iron Hands is the problem here. Yeah, let's get some more damage off into it. Oh, we're going to see a Howl come out. So, if you don't know how Howl works, in doubles it will raise the user's attack, but it will also raise the ally's attack. So this is quite dangerous. We're going to get a really nice Ice Spinner off here, though, from Dragon. That is so little. What the hell? So, from what I understand, this Iron Hands is probably max bulk with very little attack investment. And then they're just using the Howl to buff up that attack investment. We are going to see the Weak Arm proc. It doesn't really benefit me in this situation. And from this situation, Dragonite should be able to take the knockout here with Ice Spin. The problem is, though, is if they go for Reflect, right? Like, if they go for Reflect, then they probably live it. So I'm kind of forced here to just go for the Armor Cannon and follow up. But it's pretty vital to take out this Iron Hands. Pretty vital. Because this Iron Hands has so much offensive pressure against me. And my opponent's already burned their Terror as well, which is fantastic. I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to deal with the Scream Tail, but it may be the case of we take out all of Scream Tails' friends and then deal with it in a 2v1 situation where Scream Tails really can't do much offensively. The opponent actually going to switch out of the Iron Hands, which is very interesting, and go into the Dondozo, which is going to take the Howl boost. So this is really interesting. We're still yet to see a Trick Room of any kind. This Armor Cannon will do literally nothing. And of course we'll follow up with the Ice Spinner here. Again, I'm doing very little damage. Big crit. Big crit. And we're going to see the leftovers. So, I think we keep the Armourouge around, because Armourouge with the Expanding Force could be really useful in this endgame, but that would mean I would have to switch out into you if I wanted to save the Indeedee. No, I think we have to bring in Indeedee, and I actually think this is the turn we finally start going for Terrestrializations here. And we'll go for the Terra Blast flying here. Dondozo has pretty good defense, like very high HP, pretty good defense, and obviously we've seen the light screen come out from this Scream Tail as well. So maybe the Scream Tail has Howl, Light Screen, Reflect, Trick Room. I don't know. I'm still very surprised we haven't seen Trick Room yet. I absolutely thought we would have seen it by this point. But this at least lets us have some Follow Me. You know, that allows us to keep the damage away from Dragonite. And we're going to go for a big hit here with the Terra Blast and see how much damage we can do to the Dondozo. The downside is, though, that we no longer resist water, but in this case, you know, I can't really hit the Dondozo with anything other than maybe like a low kick. They end up with Protect, which is a good play. I think this is probably going to be a Trick Room. No, going to be a Psychic Fangs, which is, of course, boosted by that Psychic Terrain. But Terra Blast is going to do not going to do anything, it's going into Protect. Psychic Fangs did a lot of damage, though. Loads of damage. You get stabbed. The thing is, it's resisted. So I'm still surprised by how much damage it did. But I would very much like to double up into this Dondozo. But my opponent seems very content with having Dragonite just sat there on the field. Like, they don't seem too worried about it, but I'm a little bit surprised by that, because Dragonite's got a very nice attack stat. We're getting, you know, we've got the Terra Flying boosted Terra Blast now coming out. We're going to do some decent damage. We haven't seen Reflect. So, we've seen Reflect now. So, that does mean there is no Trick Room, which means we have all the speed we could ever want, which is fantastic. Right? All the speed we could ever want. Pablo Escobar agrees with me, but that is fantastic. So, we double up here with the Psychic plus the Terra Blast. That's some good damage into the Dondozo. Followed up by the Liquidation into the Dragonite. It gets the critical hit. That's a big crit. That probably puts us in Psychic Fang range. That is a big problem. The opponent's Light Screen wears off. Not too much of a... Actually, that is a concern for my opponent, because now Psychic is going to be doing a lot more to the Dondozo. I wonder here if my opponent just clicks Protect. You know, I'm really thinking that my opponent clicks Protect. I'm going to go Follow Me plus Terror Blast, and we're going to start kicking some damage off into the Screamtail. I think Protect comes out from here from Dondozo. I think it's pretty likely. Yeah, there it is. Dondozo is, of course, the big threat on the field. Be interested to see if my opponent decides to reset that light screen, or if they choose to go for damage. I would expect they would want to go for damage here. They do. They go for the Psychic Fangs, but indeed he's able to take that thanks to the resist. And we can get a nice Terror Blast off into the Screamtail. We're doing around 25% with that, so that's not bad. The problem is that we never take out this Dondozo with another Terror Blast, right? Like, it never happens, but I'm kind of forced into going for Follow Me. And just keep trying to chip that damage away onto Dondozo. As my opponent takes the knockout with Psychic Fangs. A crit here would put me in great stead. My opponent got a crit with the Liquidation. Can Dragonite pull off the crit? Can Dragonite pull off the crit? Pretty important that it does. No, it doesn't. Yeah, that puts us in a really bad state now. It's going to be the... I mean, the game's not done. The game's not done by any means. We're still in it. We're just not in a great situation. I believe my opponent's light screen's gone, which is kind of big, actually. Like, that is pretty big. Because it means that Expanding Force or Armor Cannon's going to be doing its normal amount of damage. And I would wonder here if Dondozo wants to click Protect. I predicted it last time. Because if my opponent goes for Protect with Dondozo here, I potentially just take out the Screamtail. If my opponent chooses to go for Wave Crash and say goes into the... I think you have to click Protect here. No, they just outspeed and go for the Psychic Fangs. Okay. Wow. I mean... Yeah, this is probably game over at this stage, because I can't Earthquake the... That does such little damage, man. That's crazy. This team's so weird. I guess 'cause it's just so bulky. What I would say, though, is my opponent is very, very weak to crits. They got lucky that... Because I was attacking every turn, right, pretty much. Apart from the few times where I was clicking... the... Oh, man, if I should have brought Bundle. Bundle was so good into this team. Because I just clicked Encore straight into the Flutter Mane. Like, if my opponent's... If this is an open team sheets game, I just clean at my opponent so easily. So easily. Because Bundle just comes in with Encore. And we just shut down the Screamtail's first turn. And I win this game quite comfortably. But it's not open team sheets. And, you know, you can just win by purely surprising your opponent. That's kind of what happened here. I wasn't able to bring the tools because I didn't really know what I was up against. It looked like Trick Room to me. They looked clear as daylight Trick Room. A team of slow Pokemon next to a Pokemon that can learn Trick Room. You know. Admittedly, I think it's a weird Pokemon to run with Trick Room. You know, Screamtail, it's not particularly slow in itself. But sometimes games just go like that. Anyway, we'll leave it like that. It's a pretty cool team. Links, as always, will be in the description, so I recommend you go check it out. And I will catch you next time. Cheers.